If you leave a slice of modern supermarket bread on your kitchen counter, it won't spoil for nearly a month. That is not a miracle of modern freshness. That is an industrial intervention. You've been told that post-meal bloating, afternoon sluggishness, and digestive discomfort are just a normal part of your life. You've been handed vague explanations about food sensitivities and told your digestive system is simply struggling to keep up. But there is a missing piece to this puzzle. For many, the body isn't simply rejecting wheat. It is reacting to a multi-billion-dollar, ultra-processed industrial formula. 4,000 years ago, the laborers who built the Egyptian pyramids were paid in bread. Roman soldiers marched across 3 continents, fighting and conquering, fueled by massive 2-pound loaves eaten every single day. The gladiators of Ephesus were literally known as the barley eaters. They didn't have widespread digestive epidemics. They thrived. So how did the absolute staff of life become the trigger for so much modern health frustration? The answer involves a forgotten Egyptian biological discovery, a notorious Victorian baking scandal involving industrial fillers, a genetic shift designed to save 1 billion lives, and a synthetic additive, also known for its use in manufacturing plastics and foams, that might currently be sitting in your pantry. Welcome to Old World Science. Today, we are opening the vault on the 150-year illusion of the commercial bread industry. We're going to trace the exact timeline of how bread was fundamentally altered and show you exactly how to reclaim your digestive balance. Let's dig in. To understand how bread was altered, we must first understand how it was perfected. And for that, we look to ancient Egypt, roughly 4,000 years ago. Before the Egyptians, humans ate flatbreads, dense, hard mixtures of crushed grain and water cooked on hot stones. But the Egyptians revolutionized food science through what was likely a biological accident. They left a mixture of grain and water sitting out in the warm Egyptian sun. Microscopic life, wild yeast and lactic acid bacteria naturally present on the grain and in the air, colonized the wet dough. It began to bubble. It expanded. When they baked this dough inside their conical clay ovens, the heat trapped the carbon dioxide gas. The bread rose. It was lighter, softer, and vastly more digestible. They had just utilized sourdough fermentation. But modern science has revealed that they discovered something else, too. In 1980, anthropologists were studying the bones of ancient populations that lived just south of Egypt along the Nile. Under ultraviolet light, their bones glowed with a distinct yellow-green fluorescence. This was the undeniable chemical signature of naturally occurring antimicrobial compounds, compounds that modern science wouldn't formally isolate until the 20th century. How did ancient people have these protective elements in their bones? The answer was their bread and their brewing process. The ancient Egyptian baking vats were naturally colonized by specific soil bacteria that produced these protective compounds to ward off competing microbes. By slow fermenting their dough, the ancient Egyptians were not just making food. They were cultivating a powerful biological defense. Their daily bread naturally fortified their resilience. It was a perfect symbiotic relationship between human beings and microscopic life. This biological mastery was inherited and scaled by the Roman Empire. Rome was a city of 1 million people. Feeding, it was a matter of national stability. But how did Rome feed an empire without modern refrigeration or artificial preservatives? The secret lay in the chemistry of the dough. In 1930, archaeologists excavating the volcanic ruins of Pompeii discovered a perfectly carbonized loaf of bread from 79 AD, known as panis quadratus. Through modern analysis, scientists confirmed a very simple truth. This bread contained only 4 things: stone-milled wheat, water, sea salt, and wild airborne yeast. The Roman state bakeries relied on long, slow fermentation. The lactic acid bacteria in their sourdough starters did more than just make the bread taste good. They lowered the pH of the dough significantly. This highly acidic environment is a natural, ruthless preservative. Spoilage organisms simply cannot survive in a highly acidic chrome. A loaf of properly fermented Roman bread could sit at room temperature for weeks. The Roman legions carried hardtack versions of this fermented bread on long campaigns. It survived the elements because the biology protected it. They didn't need artificial shelf stabilizers. The bacteria did the preserving for them. Rome optimized bread for human function. As the centuries passed, a dangerous psychological shift occurred. Bread became a status symbol. In the Middle Ages, the wealthy nobility demanded pure, white bread. To achieve this, bakers had to meticulously sift the stone-ground flour through fine linen cloths over and over again to remove the dark bran and the germ. It was incredibly labor-intensive, making white bread exclusively for the rich. The peasants, on the other hand, ate a dark, dense, coarse bread made from a mix of whole wheat, rye, and barley. The elite looked down on this dark bread as common feed. But biology loves irony. The wealthy lords, eating their pure white starch, frequently suffered from malnutrition and poor dental health. The peasants, consuming the fiber, vitamins, and minerals locked in the whole grains, possessed significantly stronger bone density and robust metabolic health. The working class was eating nutrient-dense superfoods, while the elite were eating empty calories. By the 19th century, the Industrial Revolution hit. The urban working class wanted the white bread of the wealthy, but pure white flour was still expensive to produce. So, commercial bakers found a shortcut. To make cheap, low-quality flour look blindingly white and weigh more, Victorian bakers began cutting their flour with alum, chalk, and sometimes even bone ash. Alum made the bread look beautifully white and fluffy, but in the human gut, it caused severe digestive distress and nutrient malabsorption in children. The food industry realized early on, if you can fake the appearance of quality with industrial fillers, you can maximize your margins. The Victorian adulteration era was the first major warning that heavily commercializing bread would come with unseen costs. When you think of traditional bread, you probably think of the French baguette, but the commercial baguette actually marks a major shift away from traditional baking. For centuries, the French baked large, round, dark sourdough loaves that fermented for 24 hours and lasted for weeks. But in the mid-1800s, commercial bakers' yeast was isolated and sold broadly. Commercial yeast is a single strain of fungi selected for one specific trait: speed. Instead of waiting 24 hours for a wild sourdough culture to raise the dough, commercial yeast could inflate the dough in just 2 or 3 hours. Bakers loved it. They could mix the dough in the morning, form it into long, thin sticks, and bake them rapidly for breakfast. It was an economic marvel, but it changed the nutritional profile completely. By switching to fast-acting commercial yeast, bakers abandoned the lactic acid bacteria that lived in the old sourdough starters. Without the bacteria, there was no acid development. Without the acid, the bread went stale and rock hard in a matter of hours. We traded deep fermentation and natural preservation for speed and convenience. While the bakers were changing the fermentation, agricultural science was about to change the grain itself. The wheat the Romans, Egyptians, and medieval peasants used was genetically simple. Ancient einkorn wheat had only 14 chromosomes. These heritage grains had a fragile protein structure. Their gluten was weak. For human digestive enzymes, this weak gluten is easily broken down and absorbed. But after World War II, the global population was exploding. In the 1960s, agricultural scientists developed semi-dwarf wheat. Traditional wheat grew tall, and when farmers applied fertilizers, the heavy grain heads caused the tall stalks to snap. The new short, thick, heavy-yielding wheat plant could absorb massive amounts of nutrients without falling over. This green revolution saved an estimated 1 billion people from starvation and was a monumental humanitarian triumph. But this new modern wheat was bred for one primary goal: maximum yield per acre. In the process of forced hybridization, the genetic code of the wheat was altered. It now contained 42 chromosomes. Modern wheat contains significantly higher levels of specific gliadin proteins. One particular fragment is highly prominent in modern wheat. Think of this peptide as wearing a biological shield. It is incredibly resistant to human digestive enzymes. It passes through your stomach and into your small intestine largely intact. When your modern immune system encounters this unfamiliar protein fragment, it can sometimes flag it as an anomaly, which researchers believe may contribute to an inflammatory response. Your digestion isn't necessarily broken. You're simply consuming a genetically shifted grain that your ancestors never had to process. We shifted the genetics. We stripped the bran and germ using steel roller mills, and we bleached the flour. But the final, most impactful change to modern bread, the true reason it leaves so many feeling weighed down, is the removal of time. When you mix raw flour and water, there's a natural defense mechanism inside the grain called phytic acid. When you eat it, it binds to essential minerals in your digestive tract, like iron, zinc, and magnesium, and locks them away, meaning your body cannot properly absorb them. In the ancient world, bakers left their dough to ferment for 12 to 24 hours. A miraculous symbiosis occurs in sourdough. The lactic acid bacteria produce an enzyme which completely neutralizes the phytic acid. The long resting period also gives natural enzymes time to break down those stubborn gluten proteins. By the time an ancient loaf went into the oven, the bacteria had already done half of the digestive work for you. Fast forward to 1961. The baking industry developed high-speed manufacturing processes. Fermenting dough for 24 hours takes up warehouse space. The new process solved this by using high-speed mechanical mixers, massive doses of commercial fast-acting yeast, and synthetic dough conditioners. Today, in a commercial facility, the time it takes for raw flour to be mixed, baked, cooled, and sliced into a plastic bag is under 3 hours. 3 hours. There is no time for the phytic acid to be neutralized. There is no time for the gluten to be pre-digested. When you eat that bread, you're forcing your own stomach to do the heavy lifting that bacteria were supposed to do overnight. And finally, modern agriculture introduced one last variable: pre-harvest drying. In many parts of the world, industrial farmers spray their wheat fields with commercial drying agents just weeks before harvest to dry the plant out uniformly. With some mass-produced commercial breads, there's a growing concern about trace residues of these compounds, which are being heavily studied for their potential impact on the delicate human gut microbiome. The ultra-processed food industry optimized bread for the supermarket shelf. The ancient world optimized bread for the human body. But the incredible thing about this history is that you don't have to be limited by the modern food system. The ancient science of fermentation was never lost. It was just pushed into the shadows. You have the power to reclaim it today. If you want to experience bread again without the heavy bloating and the massive energy crashes, you need to set new rules. First, read the labels. If a loaf of bread contains high fructose corn syrup, soybean oil, calcium propionate, or azotocarbonamide, put it down. That is an industrial formula, not traditional food. Second, seek out real artisans. Find a local bakery and ask the baker one question. How long do you ferment your dough? If they say 3 hours, walk out. If they say 18 to 24 hours, you have found real bread. You're paying for the biological labor that will protect your digestion. Third, and most powerfully, do it yourself. Buy a bag of high-quality, stone-ground wheat. Mix flour and water in a jar. Leave it on your counter. Within days, you will capture wild yeast from the air. You will cultivate the exact same microscopic ecosystem that fed the builders of the pyramids and the soldiers of Rome. When you bake it, the crust will be thick, the inside will be slightly tangy, and when you eat it, you will notice something profound. You may notice a difference in how you feel sustained rather than weighed down. Your body recognizes real food. The modern narrative wants you to believe that your body is failing. But the truth is, the highly processed industrial system is what changed, not you. By choosing real, slow-fermented bread, you are participating in a quiet return to nature. You are reclaiming a piece of ancient human heritage that kept our ancestors strong. If this journey through the lost science of wheat opened your eyes, hit the subscribe button and turn on the bell. Here at Old World Science, we don't just study history, we use it to build better lives today. Share this video with someone who thinks their digestive system is the problem. It's time we stopped blaming our bodies and started demanding better bread. Until next time, keep exploring the wisdom they left behind.